Hey, ever seen any of this stuff before? Some of the rules here? A positive gives a positive, a negative times positive gives a negative. Oh, all those rules. I wonder how they came about, or did you just learn them? Maybe you haven't seen them before. Let's have a look at them now, because we're going to look at what's called the set of integers or whole numbers, and we're going to come up with some negative numbers, 0, and some positive or natural numbers. The positive whole numbers are called the natural numbers. So integers are the set of whole numbers, no decimals there, and we're going to have a look at the ideas behind that. And this is crucial to understanding this number set here, the set of integers, because here is our number line. We're starting at 0 and we're moving to the right, and we call this a positive direction. And if in mathematics we want to indicate movement in the opposite direction, down this way, we call it negative. So that's a new concept there. The idea of numbers having a direction for numbers. So let's introduce that now and see if we can get a better understanding of stuff that you might have already done. Here it is here. The minus sign or negative sign, what's the difference? Are we going to call it a minus, or are we going to call it a negative sign? What does it mean? Okay, let's have a look. It means negative in this context and indicates the opposite direction. Sometimes it doesn't mean negative, it means something a little bit different. So we'll have a look at that in a minute. But negative indicates, here it is, opposite direction here. Opposite direction. So whenever you see that negative sign in maths, you'll see it on calculators as well, it indicates you're going to change direction there. All right, so do you get that idea? Because we want to build up an understanding of what comes about as a result of that. And here I've taken some clippings from Hayes and Harris publications there. So we've got our number line. We're going to use this to try to understand these rules. Okay, so let's have a look at their example. 4 plus negative 9. So what are we doing? We're adding a negative. And with those signs, it produces the equivalent, according to the rule, of a negative down there. A positive next to a negative. Positive times a negative is a negative. How can we think of that? Where did that rule come from? I don't want you just to learn the rules, of course. In Huddy's hierarchy, the idea is that the rules are down here, the algorithm or the rule for solving the problem. We want to come up to the next level, which is the concept, what's going on, and then get up close and personal with it and say, I see it, I get it, okay. So that's what we're trying to do here. So let's look at this one. We're out at 4 here, so 4 is positive 4, and we want to add on to that negative 9. So if we're moving this way to 4 and adding on is moving that way, but it's neg 9. So we reverse and go back the other way here. We're going to take it away, if you like. That's where that number, that sign becomes important here. The positive and the negative result in a negative, because we're going back now. There's the negative, going back the other way. So 4, and if we go back neg 9, 9 units, we'll be right back here at neg 5. That's the idea. All right, let's do another one and see if we can understand each of them in terms of the number line. This is 4, so we're at 4 facing that way. Then it says take, which is going to reverse our direction. And then we're going to go neg 9. That's going to reverse our direction again. So from 4, we're going to go out plus 9. That's the idea of over here. Let's have a look. A negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, so we've got it down here, and we're going to end up at 13. 9 further out would take us up to 13, somewhere up there. Do you get this sign idea meaning direction of displacement on a number line? What about neg 3 plus neg 5? Let's go to neg 3. Here we are, and now we want to add on, so we're going to go that way for addition. Always thinking about that way as adding up or going further along to the positive side of the number line. but then we're going to go -5, so we reverse our movement. So in the end, we're going to go -5 this way. So we'll be down at 5 more units that way, down in -8 land somewhere there. So consequently, we get the rule of positive times a negative down here is a negative. Because when you reverse that direction, you're going the opposite to it. So let's do the last one here. Let's clean this up a bit and do the last one, which is -3. So we're down at -3, and normally we'd be facing that way, and then we reverse our direction. Here it is. We reverse our direction, and then we do it again. Another reversal, and so our 5 units are going to be out this way. 5 units further out. And hang on, we've gone too far. This is going to be 5 units, so we'll be out at 2 now. +2. So what's this here? That's our interpretation of that sign, that negative sign reversing our direction. That's the idea. So here, what would the little rule be? Negative times a negative is a positive. 2 reversals bring you back, still heading up the positive direction of the number line. So to the right is increasing the size of the number, and that's the positive direction. And down here, if you go in the opposite direction, then we call this the negative direction. It's a sign change. Are you ready to try some of the rules now? Let's have a look at the next one. So here, when we're multiplying 2 numbers together, and basically I've interpreted that the same way here. Positive times a positive. We're going to have 2 positive signs coming together is going to give a positive. Let's have a look at that. What does 3 times 4 mean? It means 3 lots of 4. So 4's out here. We've gone this far, +4. If we do it 3 times, that's going to be 12 units that way, isn't it? So that's okay to understand. What about 3 times -4? Where's -4? Well, -4 is starting here and travelling there. We've gone down to -4. Now 3 times means 3 lots of -4. So where will that take us? 3 lots that way, it'll be -12. And so we get the idea of a positive times a negative, meaning a negative. But you don't have to actually learn the rule of if you think about what's going on. What about -3 times 4? Let's go to -3. There it is there. We've gone off a negative direction there to -3. And now, we could think of this as 4 lots of -3, or -3 times 4. So if we think about it, 4 lots of -3, it'll be 4 lots of this down that way will equal -12. You can think of it that way. Or what's another way of doing it? Let's think of it as 3 lots of 4. What's 3 lots of 4? There's 4. Go 3 lots of 4, will be out at +12. But I've got neg, so that reverses it down to -12. Do you want to do it that way? See, maths is consistent. No matter what way you think of it, it's going to give you the same answer. Okay, what about negative times a negative? That's a bit of a harder one. So let's look at that. Let's look at -3 times -4. So let's think about what was 3 times -4. We did that before. -4 is to there, and we're going to do 3 lots of it.
Practice test on probability.
3 lots of that.
You've done some revision.
We'll keep us going. It'll be down to -12.
The work. So
okay,
here we have it.
So that's 3 lots of -4 is -12.
Is to spend about
with negative means opposite direction. Then -3 will be the opposite to this. That must be up at +12 somewhere. You get the idea. Once you introduce this direction, this negative sign, you can interpret everything that you're doing there in terms of a change in direction. So you can actually work it out rather than remember just the rule. Okay, so here are the rules down here. I want you to think when you're using them about what's happening along the number line. So that you're getting up close and personal with maths, and that's when it's fun. Okay, let's go
Come
down
now to part B.
and have a look at division.
Which products
Okay,
will
there's a
occur
set of
most
rules
often.
here too.
You can pause it and do it
And
at your
teachers
own
would have
rate.
given you all
1
fancy
mark
ways of
is
trying to
over
remember those
a
rules,
minute's
perhaps.
worth of work.
Well, let's have a look at it.
And part
14
C,
divided by 2. Okay, so we want to split 14
might
into
have
2
to,
equal parts.
Look at your grid
They'll
now
both
to
be
see,
7, so 14's out
the
here.
answers to some of these.
Divide by
Use the
2, it's
grid.
halfway out there, and I've gone off my number line here.
And
What
D,
about 14 divided by -2? Can you split 14 into a -2 number of parts? No, what we would tend to do
then,
here
and that's the
is
end
say
of
if
question
14
one. Be careful.
divided by 2
Work carefully.
is
Okay, let's go on to
7,
question 2.
then 14 divided by -2, the opposite direction now, is -7.
And part
That's
B.
the idea. Or -14 divided by 2 is the negative of 14 divided by 2. What might -14 divided by -2 be? Well, let's do it. -14 divided by 2 would be -7.
Into
Split up
question
the
3.
-14 movement
Carefully
down
at that
there
diagram.
into
Right,
2
come
equal
back
parts,
to
-7.
that diagram as we
Therefore,
scroll through the question.
if I divide by -2, that's going to be a sign change.
And
So
part
this is
B,
going to reverse the direction of that. That's going to
see
be
both up
positive 7.
there. Again, you might have to go
Do you
back
get the
and check
idea
the
there
diagram.
that what we're doing is studying the numbers and seeing where we have a direction change?
D,
Okay, we're going to change the direction in response to that negative. So all these rules
let's look at
now
question 4.
are easy to understand. If you have one negative, here we are, a positive divided by a negative,
And let's look
then
at
that's going to
part
reverse the direction of that number line, of that positive, isn't it? Because that's what the negative does, reverses direction. So it's going to end up in a negative direction.
Have a look at
But if
part
you do it
C.
twice, negative stays negative, and divide by another negative, it's going to reverse it back again into a positive.
And question
Okay,
5, part
so
A.
giving you some basic idea. Let's practice some stuff now.
A statistical chart there.
All right, I want you to do these with and without a calculator. So these are just simple subtractions. 14 take 5. Can you do it without a calculator? 14 plus -5 means you'll add on to 14 a number going in the opposite direction, -5. You could, for a while, you could do it on a number line. 14, then add on -5, back that way. Oops, hang on, we've messed that up now. Back that way, and that would bring you back to 9.
A there.
So you could draw a little number line and see what's happening. Just remember, 2 reversals of direction will make that back to a positive.
B.
So I want you to go through and do every one by hand, but just using mental arithmetic if you can. And then I'd like you to try the calculator there in Runmos. This is a Casio 9860 Plus. The important thing there is these two signs. They both use that minus sign or negative sign. What is what? So this is subtraction, or that's just when you might call it the minus sign, because it's an operation. You're actually subtracting a number. This is when you have the number itself is negative, going along the number line. So what does something like -14 plus 5 mean? You will use this sign in here, -14, because it's to the left of 0 on the number line, and then this is plus. This is an operator
Okay.
doing
So
a
there we have
particular
it. That's the
operation,
end of
which
the
is adding.
test now.
Let's have a
And,
look
I
at
want you to pause and
a different one.
check.
Let's look
your
at
answers,
14.
Because what I'm going to
Take
do is I'm
-5.
going to
This
go
is
back
interesting.
And show you how to
Because
work it all
14
out
take
and watch me work
-5, you
it
are
and
actually
do
subtracting
mark it.
from 14.
So,
That's
I'm
an
going to take you
operation.
back
You're
to the beginning
subtracting
now.
it.
Here we go,
And what sort of
right
number are
back
you
up
subtracting?
to the beginning.
-5. And
And
that
here we are.
neg
Put your
will
name
be
on
in
the
there.
paper. Right, here we
So
go.
there is a subtle difference in maths
Let's see if I can
between
get them all
these
right.
signs and how they're used.
Represent all the possible outcomes.
So if the
Two
negative
dice
is
roll,
attached to a
maybe
number,
underline that,
then
and the
what it
product.
means is that
Product
number is
means
negative. It's gone.
multiplication,
It's a
multiply.
-5 or a displacement to the left
Okay.
on the number
So
line.
let's come down and represent all
If
the
there's
outcomes here.
another sign in front,
Two
that is an
dice.
operation.
So here
The process of adding those two displacements
Two
or
dice
subtracting
represent
them.
Something like this.
Okay, so I'd like you to try and think about when you use the word minus for subtraction, and when you might use this little sign in brackets there, and you'll get a mass error.
5, 6 outcomes.
I think it's a mass error or a syntax error on the calculator if you use them the wrong way round.
1, 2.
Okay, so you can't use the in there, you can't use the one in
6.
brackets.
Now the outcome
Because you're actually doing the process of an operation of subtraction. But if you mix those signs up, the calculator will tell you. So start thinking, when do I mean in these mathematical expressions a negative movement on the number line or a process of subtraction? The operator there, an operation.
6.
Okay,
Then 3
I want you to pause the presentation, have a go at every part, the answers are down below. I want you to try it on the calculator as well, please.
18.
Okay, let's look at the bottom one here. Question 5. Determine the missing number. I want you to think about how you would do this. I want you to try to isolate the square. What has been done to it to produce the number? Here, 15 has been added. What will you do to get that number back again? Try reversing
18.
the operations done. Look at what's been done to produce the number and then reverse it. So here you have a mystery number, 15's been added. What will you do to get it back again? You will take 15.
For the overall.
What was the number before you added 15? Well, it was
take off 1.
15 less.
You've
So
got
taking
2
it away and then working that out.
Take off
That's not a
1,
bad way of
no,
doing it,
two
rather
out
than
of
guessing.
3. If you
So here we've got,
only got 1 wrong, we'll
The
forgive
number
1.
has
You
neg
should have
8 added
3,
to it, and
mark
it came to
that.
2.
Take off
What
2,
was it before you had neg 8 there?
Less than
You
5
would
errors, that
add
is.
the 8 maybe.
More than
Maybe
2,
perhaps
but,
start
less
thinking
than or equal
of
to
that
5.
sort of a way of working
And
out
if you
rather
take
than
your
guessing.
decimal,
Here,
If you've got more
all
than
these.
5 errors.
the unknown number was multiplied by neg 8 to give 40.
All right.
Let's
Okay, so
undo
make a
that.
mark
What was the
there out
number
of the
before
3.
you
I hope you
multiply
got a
by
few
neg
for that
8?
one.
Let's divide
go
by
down
neg
and have a
8.
look.
Do you reckon?
Which
Well,
product
that's something you
will
need to
occur
talk about
most
with your
often?
classmates and your
Now, for
teacher.
this, we're going to have to go
So
back
what I'm
and
going to
look
leave
at
you to do
which
now is to
products
finish
will
those
occur most
5
often.
problems
So
off
look around
and to check your
back,
answers as you
around
go.
there,
So
and
as you
I
do
think you
question
can
1,
see the
go
12.
down, I'll show you the answers now.
Okay, through
From Hayes and
here.
Harris Publications,
And
there are the answers that you
sixes.
should get. And if you're not sure, try to plot the numbers on the number line, starting at 0, and to the right is positive, the left is negative.
Four of
All right,
each.
good luck with that.
Okay,
I hope
so
to
that's
catch you
our
another
answer down
presentation.
below.
Cheers
So
for
let's put
now.
that down. 12 and